watching Eswatini TV, Sibuko Semaswati.
Right place and right time. Hello and welcome, of course, Monday today, the first Monday of the month of August. The year is 2020. Of course, we look at different activities that took place over the weekend in the sport, entertainment, or rather in terms of activities that took place over the weekend, where we saw on Friday, of course, the Tennis Association receiving a new tournament to take place over the weekend, a sponsorship of 30,000 Emarangeni, with, of course, a 15,000 championship race at stake. Whoever that is walking away with that man, of course, he will be a rich person. Otherwise, from there we move to other tournaments such as golf. We saw the Mathri Mark also taking place at the Mbabane Club, where, of course, golf continues to be one of the sporting codes, of course, that is active since they have been given a permission to proceed with the activities. We are hoping, of course, to also touch on issues pertaining to cricket, of course, but some of the representative can only make it next week, so which means we'll have some of the clubs coming from cricket in the studio from next week to touch on how they have been recovering from COVID-19, how they're doing so far as associations and clubs. Otherwise, internationally, we'll also just take a look at what's happening internationally. And of course, Arsenal supporters are a very, very, very happy team as we speak after winning the FA Cup for the 14th time in the history. We'll talk about that, and of course what it means in terms of other international sporting activities. Hamilton winning the Grand Prix over the weekend in a dramatic way after, of course, he almost lost with the car issues. We'll talk on that and also touch on other transfer rumors that are making headlines. I'm already in the company of Lindel Ramini, the in-house analyst, where we will be together giving you this entire 57 and 58 information pertaining to sports, local and international.
Fabrice Msonera ngiyabonga kumkwela ngithoba lokukhulu ngivuselela abantu laba special loyal viewers
ba special
bahlale ba special kids ngibo labamfula bathi nomudibana nabo Fabrice bakunike mavi ekukhuthata baphinze nangabe ba lapho bakucushisa khona bakucushise. Ngicabanga nje ukuthi simelana nawe including nalabo laba behind the scenes nibo labasinikako labasikhuthatako nemithandazo ke Fabrice. Ngithi angisho ukuthi nawenda umsebenzi webantu uyayidinga imithandazo ngoba ke wayona into yebantu sonele bonke labamfulu sebenda nabo.
That's Linda. I mean, of course, if you are watching the program for the very first time, he's a very, very informed analyst in terms of information. Any sporting activity can cut across. Of course, having with the institution for more than I can tell about that, but he has enough information to give you in terms of sports. And of course, if you're joining us on different platforms, there is the YouTube platform where you are always welcome to be part of this show by always making sure that you subscribe to make sure that you get a reminder next time the show is live. Otherwise, for those who are on Skuchane, pay attention, don't go anywhere. The show is going to be about informing you. Did you know? It's all about knowing what's happening currently, locally and internationally. Starting with tennis, Lamin. Sibone over the weekend, Friday, of course, we saw Tennis Association, one of the sporting courses in Ashogutsi, they have been very active, giving us something, to look ahead to say maybe people think that it's only in football where money is invested. But maybe before we just get into that, just to give the view what was happening, this is maybe a moment just to give them a chance to take a look at this short, clip of what was happening during the sponsorship. Take a look at this. Now, if you just join us, that was a quick weekend recap, just to take a look at what was happening over the weekend, from tennis to tech ball. Something also we will be talking about, to look at how they were one of the first sporting codes that had a small training session with, of course, officers coming from the Ministry of Health to tell them about how they should keep safe and try to be in the right condition. Especially, it has to do with keeping your distances, all that. We also talk to we also get to hear some of the information coming from tech ball. Otherwise, that was the focus that we saw that taking center stage over the weekend. I mean, before that short highlight, we're talking about how maybe tennis as a sport, we have seen some progress. Now tournaments are coming in their numbers. So a tournament worth 30,000 of which there is growth in everything, and it's not the only sport. I mean, it's not the only sponsorship tournaments they call money. What does that mean for the sport itself, Lamin?
For the past 3 or 4 years, tennis economy improvement, and there are one sport laba ne court yabo lapha kalubamba laba yakhile lensha, and ibane technical sponsor lokwi building society. Ngicabanga ukuthi tonke leti involved for president le praise tatsinga kuniwe credit na kunyalo na kamemetela andvunankulu 2 weeks ago ukuthi lamanye ama sports atawubuya be tennis basho bathi basetohlangana bahlangene ke Fabrice, ngiyethemba ukuthi lokuhlangana kwabo bebafuna nawona lama sponsors na kunyalo ngalesihlanu balontsha i series sponsorship. Ngicabanga ukuthi Fabrice njoba senishilo ukuthi i-tennis sport lesi sinema sponsors, and nawubuka ukuthi nemali kusakhona lamanye besaqalile before i-break. Ngicabanga ukuthi bayideserve vele le credit lokuthola nje sponsor 30,000 for a tournament, for a single tournament. Ngicabanga ukuthi idinzaba letimnanzi.
Yeah, we'll talk about that, because I mean this is one of the academy as a sports academy, because I think ngahlangana with one of the officials from the association. Of course, that's the president, Maxwell Chele. I think why as a country master maybe are we failing to make Eswatini fall in love with our sports? Sorry, because if you go to countries like South Africa, when you talk about tennis, I mean, they have got players, they have got athletes who perform at the highest stage. You talk about Zimbabwe, you talk about cricket. Zimbabwe is one of the best countries in Africa. You go to Zambia, you go to Kenya. Are we isn't it maybe the duty of everyone, association, everyone, to make Eswatini fall in love with sport, and then we start seeing the money being invested? This is why maybe being shit earlier on, it's time maybe we see Eswatini in terms of information what's happening with this sporting code. Now, maybe from the pictures we're looking at, Nyalo Sibuga, one of the youngest players in terms of girls, being part of some small training at Ndebabane club. But what I wanted to draw attention to it, Master, would say if you can have a tournament of 30,000 Nyalo, but there's also lack of presence of female, because I think the pictures were there just to tell us about, maybe talk about that. The tournament now doesn't have women involvement. There is an explanation to that, but do you think maybe are we not maybe missing it somewhere to say we can just have a tournament but we don't involve all the genders as it's required?
Ngokuqala Fabrice ngicela kushona ukuthi I think nathi eMaswati siyadindela phasi tinvote takethu. Nawubuka nje ukuthi emicimbi yema sports ema sponsors yet lamanye ema sports siyawabukela kubomakhelwane even na abroad. Ngicabanga ukuthi thine sinenkinga because maningi kakhulu ama corporates la ngaphandle la if nawubuka ukuthi over 30 wama sports la khona including yona tennis, only my corporate at least 20 or 25 athi ngawuthatha sport ngasinye na kunyalo kune tournament yaka tennis letako ngicabanga ukuthi njoba sengishilo itawuveta emathalenta lamasha though ke social Fabrice wathi ayikho I tournament yabotsatsa. Ngicabanga ukuthi kudinga ukuthi next time bayibukele nivole, because siyade ukuthi even nasemhlabeni sibonile ukuthi laba dominate kakhulu especially America, bo Serena Williams nabo Venus. Ngicabanga ukuthi the ladies badingeka kuma sports. In fact nangabe usebenza ngema sports Fabrice ucinga ukuthi ubuke igender ubuke ne disability bese sobuka ne race leti info leto tiyahambisana kumele kuhlangane ngicabanga nje ukuthi ka tennis kubashile kancane but pick up kule sports.
The excuse was that master they're going to look at in terms of the tournament is taking place this weekend, Saturday and Sunday, the first series. Then they are going to have a second edition where probably will have now women involved. But however, from the kick of the tournament, you know, I think that's the cream where you want to see everything. Where there's a crunch of players, everyone is there. You want to see them there. You want to see this female because if you look at internationally, what Serena Williams is earning after winning Wimbledon, after winning a tournament, is the same amount that Djokovic is winning after winning. So there is that balance in terms of prices. So what are we doing when we leave the female outside?
Fabrice ngicabanga excuse ukuthi ngathi mina ngidawungena ngoba ngumfana ngidawushiya ifemale akude because sonke si capable ukwenda leso sport. Angiboni ukuthi excuse ngaba khona njani nje so bekusilwa bekusangibo Serena Williams wabekisa ngabo Roger Federer ngicabanga ukuthi kubashile Fabrice iliphutha lenteka konke umuntu but nje ema ladies noma ama females ayathingeka ukudlala le bekathingeka ukudlala kule tournament.
Negative. On a positive note, master singasho ukuthi nawubuka that's some of the pictures from the launch we're taking a look at. This is the academy that has actually sponsored the tournament itself, and then I think when you look at players like Bruce and then in his career and then maybe what he has been able to achieve, singasho ukuthi there is that growth because the tournament actually is not going to be sponsored or organized by a Eswatini Tennis Association. It's by the academy, of which singasho ukuthi there are initiatives coming from clubs now to say we can do this. We can now come up with something that will accommodate everyone.
Fabrice ngicabanga ukuthi no before singene la moyeni ngisharishe I rundown yethu kulenye igroup and bebangayadi iAcer Sports Academy ile ngicabanga ukuthi if ufuna kutenda watiwe lekulabantu kudinga ukuthi vele associate ne sports acer Sports Academy ngicabanga ukuthi kwendile lokho kutennis isponsorisha I-tournament of which it's a good thing sengishilo ngathi thina emaswati standela phasi sithi noma tinkampani tethu noma any business lesendabo sithi ayatiwa ayimarketeki kahle kani nabu associate utimata ne sports ngicabanga ukuthi I-platform lekahle leyo imedia isuke ikhona naku nje sponsor se tennis. There's no way lapho khona ungabaleka khona because basponsorisha I-team ngicabanga ukuthi for the growth of le sports sifuna ukuthatha sikulenye level siyathinga lokuse labamvu ba motivate because nawubuka nje ukuthi iwinner 15,000 so that's a lot. Master, maybe of course there's a lot I want us to talk about this sponsorship and the sport itself, but the Eswatini Tennis Association President Maxwell Jede and of course Bruce, part of the sponsorship, had something to say pertaining to the sport, the sponsorship, the tournament, and there's a lot I want to talk about, but let's take a look at what they had to say first, then we'll return.
I am here representing Acer Sports Academy. In partnership with the association and really acknowledging the fact that they have, really allowed us to be part and parcel of the journey. I'm here as the captain of Acers to announce the sponsorship that we have from our reserves from the tournament that we had last year to actually host a number of series tournaments leading to the main tournament, which is the Acers Open. Its first edition was actually last year, which attracted a lot of international players, and it was a great success. So continuing from that, we are going to be having it again this year, later. But for now, the thing is we're going to be having series. So in terms of preparation and everything, I think we'll be ready as a country.
Egameni lenhlangano yeTempebedo Eswatini National Tennis Association ngifisa ukuthatha lelithuba uhalalisela iAcers Sports Academy kulelanga lelihle kangaka lesilibona kulamuhla la khona iAcers itektowethula sponsorship sema tournaments tennis latobe adlalwa. So uchazile ke captain we-Acers nekubeka ke kwekuthi le midlalo letobe idlalwa lena kutothiwa yi-Acers tennis series la khona sitoba nema tournaments lamane usengapheli umnyaka. Singibo ke bayo tennis association sifisa ke kubahalalisela laba be-Acers siphinze sivete lokuthi lele sikubona lamuhla la kuhambisana nemithetho ye-association la sifise khona ukuthi sithuthukise wona umdlalo we-tennis.
Of course, that is Eswatini Tennis Association President Maxwell Jele saying that having tournaments of this magnitude is in line of the association's vision, which is to develop the sport, not to take anything away from them. I think it's a good news, Mas. Now we're talking about now tournaments becoming many. That's good sponsors, good anything, but this is a great initiative. I think if we can take it from this level, I think every sporting court can learn something about this initiative of sponsorships.
If ukuma sports la Eswatini to understand ukuthi kulukhulu kangakanani ukuthola sponsorship and kulesikhathi se-COVID i-tennis association ikhonile kuhlangana ne-Acer Sports Academy kuthi kuphume i-tournament. Ngicabanga ukuthi idinvo letinhle kakhulu leto lomnyaka ngicabanga ukuthi yes vele umnotho uwile but uyayithi uyafika kuletinye ikapane tikutshela ukuthi umnyaka wabo uqala April noma uqala nini uyabona dinvo tiba lukhulu but nang 30,000 uyaya ku tournament le lechamka khona ku Acer. Ngicabanga nje ukuthi basebenzile bobabili dinvo letinhle leto lemele sibonge ngishilo nasekuqaleni ngathi le committee le khona nyalo ku tennis association ngicabanga ukuthi umsebenzi lomhle kakhulu Fabrice kutawudlala ama tournaments back to back lelinye nje bukutaba ba invite iMozambique ngicabanga ukuthi itawuletha le competition kula badlali betennis laba khona la Eswatini.
Usakhuluma nge-committee master. Sorry, I want to be a bit sensitive because these guys have got elections this August, the month end, if I'm not mistaken, sometime in end of August 2020, somewhere around there. And then this outgoing executive of Jele, of the likes of Ngabam Kalipi, I'm set to double check if maybe they're eligible to come back in the office, but looking at the work they have done, like you just said, do you think maybe if given a chance they should carry on and proceed, if the constitution allows them to proceed and then maybe be in the office for another term? Do you think it's a good idea, or we just need new faces? Because we've seen it with other associations. We won't mention it here, but instead of progress, maybe there's a bit of now going backwards. How would you assess their performance since they were in the office?
Fabrice, now ngathi uyathatha uyabuka sesiwushilo umsebenzi wabo ngikhulumile ngama tennis court but khona kuthola sponsor loso sponsor leso sathi sicela kungashiwo ukuthi ngubani le sakha lama tennis court base ba khona nekuthola technical sponsor nama tournaments avela ngicabanga ukuthi basebenzele umsebenzi lomhla kakhulu and now ufuna kujudge umuntu Fabrice akude umvulo demaphutha but if lama positives manengi and lama negatives ngicabanga ukuthi lo mvulo usuke end umsebenzi lomhla kakhulu yes sisho lesithi new broom sweeps better than the old one. Ngicabanga ukuthi akashongo lo muntu ukuthi lo musha kusuku original because ungasebenzisa umthanyelo lomusha awuthola ukuthi lo mshanyelo loyo utawulasta only for 2 weeks but ngicabanga nje ukuthi le committee le khona nyalo ngicabanga ukuthi umsebenzi lomhle kakhulu. Why fix it?
It's no problem. My master, I think. Sorry, what you're saying today, it speaks a lot of sense because now when you said that short sentence, when you say why change it if it's not broken, and then you get to the story of the broom. I'm also looking at other associations, to say. Yeah, why? What's going on? There are associations that do need the new broom, but there are associations that don't. Why?
Nansi Fabrice nangabe ujaja umuntu umjaja ubuka lama positives nama negatives if lama positives akho amaneng 80% ku positive 20% ku negative then u justify ke but if lama negatives akho ang 80% then i change uyayidzinga ngicabanga ukuthi ke uhlala kakhulu ku position ngicabanga ukuthi kuyakwenda ukuthi bese so relax bese usafuna into letisha but nje le committee lekhona nyalo for i cricket ngicabanga ukuthi even nema academies bamfana labancane ba introduceile badlala coach ngicabanga ukuthi sebaningi nalabo coach be tennis la sebakhona nyalo tinvo leto letihlele ngitsimine batendile tonke letinvo leto tiqhamuka kule committee lekhona nyalo.
They have it, of course, the Eswatini Tennis Association doing its best in improving the development of the sport locally. There is a new tournament that is this year's tournament is going to be, of course, taking place from this coming weekend. 30,000 Marangeni worth tournament, of course, the champion walking away with 15k. Wow. It's not an easy one, but it is a good one for whoever's going to win. Now, moving on, tech ball. It's a new sport in town. I kept saying this, and I think a lot is taking place. There was a visit over the weekend, Master, from the Minister of Health to, teach them on some of these rules and regulations of how to keep your social distancing, what's COVID its own as a disease, as a pandemic. I think you sit in the executive committee of Tech Ball. What can you tell us about Lomhlangan over the weekend, and what did you guys gain in terms of information?
Fabrice, Tech Ball sakumla ukuthi Tech Ball ngilamanye ma sports lanikwa imvumo ukuthi angachubeka ngabuyela aqale so nge weekend.
This is their offices.
Ma offices abo Eswatini lehle properties lengicaba ukuthi Fabrice nabanikwa lemvumo vele bekudzingeka ukuthi i Minister of Health itekufundzisa ukuthi bangachubeka kanjani bangaqala njani and ba ready kanganani ukuthi bangaqala ifikile ke base ministry labe baholwa nguye Makedudu Dube yes bakhanza ukuthi cishe tonke tinvoti mengemume ma sanitizer kuyabonakala ukuthi lapho khona kutawudlalwa khona ba sanitizer and wonke umuntu longena uyacheckwa I temperature ema mask face mask afakiwe invele basibonile ke ku branded tonke tinvo Tech Ball lengicaba ukuthi nakhona within lesikhathi la le Tech Ball ifike ngaso ngicabanga ukuthi I credit
maybe Master sabuka tfombe and I think I would request ukuthi maybe the picture keep playing because I'm thinking the sport doesn't have yet a year in the country singasho ukuthi baba sacala ukukhuluma ngabo back in March and if labantu laba banele office and all those things and mama singakhuluma ngama finances of the association. Like I said, you have the advantage of sitting in the executive. What have you learned from the executive of Tech Ball? Besingasho ukuthi lamanye ama sporting code angafunza kulokwenziwa Tech Ball. Esikhuluma nyalo Master I table tennis in association singasho ukuthi not disqualify per se, but it was sort of it doesn't have that power to progress anymore because of challenges. What do you think maybe sporting codes like the Tech Ball are doing such that lamanye ama sporting codes can learn from them? What's the secret?
Ngicabanga ukuthi Fabrice bese ngivedile kancane ukuthi if udabai association ubinama office lelitawurana leli office libe nabantu labatalrana ukhona kuthola equipment esikhuluma ukuthi kunematafula lang5 kunemabhola esikhuluma ukuthi ema mask abrandiwe cishe nalapha emabonzeni uyabona kubrandiwe ngicaba ukuthi tinvo letile kudzinga ukuthi ubanike icredit labe association.
I want to believe that's you.
Yes bengikhonile nami kuya kufundiseka Fabrice because ngumuntu wema sports bekumele ukuthi ngiye
nangu Makedudu
uqhamuka bekafundisa ngakuthi kahle nasikhuluma ngekuhlandeka kuma sports kukhulunywa ngani wachaza ke tonke letinvo leto kugezwa nangetandla mina nje ngifundzile indlela lesha yokugeza tandla wafundisa bekafundisa nangaloko ngicaba ukuthi Fabrice tineng letinvo letfunziwe in fact ukhulume nangema labamvu labaphatha ligciwane ukuthi bobani labanga netindzawo netindlela longawanzisa ngato leligciwane stivile letinye tato but nje ngicabanga ukuthi ufundisile then waseso yaphuma ke so kuyalo ngaphandle ya demonstrator le team ya Tech Ball ngendlela lebedlalwa ngayo ukuthi ukuthi vele batawenda kanjani nasachuje kona le midlalo because banikiwe green light sithi bangachubeka bekusanitizwa ke litafula la khona ibhola nala kudlalelwa khona le surface besanitize.
Master nanikwa I permission ukuthi ningachubeka ndawo usho ukuthi nanikwa kusho ukuthi na ungifake cards na uyibuka le sport vele kudala bungoti nje singasho ukuthi bukhona ukuthi ligcwana lingahamba ngoba from what I'm seeing maybe precautions are taking place prior to the game, but once the two players start playing, don't you think by chance maybe they can be in anything can happen? As I spoke maybe for that it form. I wish I would see maybe kusasa sifuna ukuthi sport council all of a sudden ishinje ingqondo ethi
now kahle Fabrice lapha le nakudlala nje lapha uyadropa le bhola iya ku referee iyosanitize because so that's an end of lateral lokushothi imeli sanitize le bhola kuze itobuya nangabe khona I virus
the moment it falls iya
sanitize lengicabanga ukuthi lokho enough lokuthi kubonakala lokuthi cha kode libungoti lengaba nabo because social distancing angesikhuluma ngayo ku clean kusebaleni kuyabonakala in fact sake sakhuluma ngakuthi le tafula nje lodwa ling 3 meters and nasekudlalwa ke lapha lo sevako uma 2 meters away from the table there's no way lapho khona badibana khona.
Maybe talking about the activities of the sport and then maybe in terms of involvement and all the associations have to learn from something that's being done by the tech board. I want us maybe to touch on issues of the tables, how many you have, and then maybe in terms of tournaments that you're going to be having soon. But maybe before we get into that, we just maybe want to hear what was happening over the weekend at the tech board offices. Comments were made, suggestions were made. Take a look at this.
Siyabonga ukuthi sporting bodies sekabonile bumqoka ukuthi nabo bafundziseke ngale infection prevention ezibasadlala le midlalo. I-tech ball njengoba sibona nyalo ba demonstrator ukuthi bona benda njani imithetho lesebanayo ukuthi ba prevent ukuthi kuthelelwane leligciwane sebayakhile ngokusitwa i-Ministry of Health. Baga infection prevention control under the Ministry of Health ke bathi teke namhla site stofundzisa lana le sport saka tech ball kuthi vele lokho bese banako in place ngiko yini lokutawu sita ukuthi kuvikele ukuthi bangathathelani lokugula mangabe kwenda ukuthi lomnye mhlambe so unako lokugula lesikubonile ke ukuthi all the measures le ka recommended lapha ka COVID they've tried to put them in place. Information, there's a lot of information available. Ku sanitizer bagwenda bakusho futhi nalapha kula rules zabo lokufanele labata uchubeka futhi bagwende bafundzisane ngokusho kwabo ukuthi for 2 weeks batobe bahle bafundzisana bakupractice lokuthi mangabe bo sebentale ngaphandle bodlala le sport kudlalwa kanjani in a safe way. So siyabonga nje ukuthi nako lesikhutsatako konke ama sporting bodies ukuthi akwende.
Si Football Eswatini Federation namuhla ezinadibesnale infection prevention training yethu. So sibuke si federation ukuthi kumcoka kakhulu ukuthi sonke sati infection preventative measures before the resume my activities. As seshito lena session ibe yekuqala kusatawudala amanye latawulandzela ukuthi si fully equip lama members committee kuma infection preventative measures. And as soon as all members sekafundisiwe kahle ngawo onke ama protocols sitala tisalive ukuthi ama activities atawuqala nini.
Of course, from the Ministry of Health and Nolwazi, of course, from the tech board, respectively. Speaking about how the weekend went now, how the training on COVID-19 went. Now, Yes, Mas, you wanted to highlight something.
Ngoba ukuthi Fabrice njoba sishilo sathi cishe tonke lemigomo nakufike base ministry batofike babuka ukuthi kuyalandzelwa indvele babona bacishe bagculiseka noma bajabula ngaletinvo betendiwa nema suggestion ngelamanye laba wangetile lamancane ngicabanga ukuthi indvo letikahle bobuta ngamatafula Fabrice la khona nyalo ang5 abamasay ukuthi naqala as soon as tonke tindvu ticala tishukuma kulandzelwa yonke lemitsetfo yahulumende njengoba ngishilo ngathi ugculisekile wase ministry emake dudube ukuthi cishe tonke letindvu talandzelwa siyakhumbula wakwabuta ngalinye la ukuthi lelitafula likhosta malini around 60,000 kunema tafula ke lang 50 in fact lang 52 letako Fabrice ngiyahlebela nje ngaloso ngumngani wami
sponsorship ngibani amatafula
Techball Eswatini ita receiver ematafula lang 40 but anyways Fabrice
ngoba sosongena etintsabeni the viewer is away of the tables currently we have there 5. So he's saying we're expecting as a country. This is good news. There's nothing. Don't take anything away from Techball. And I'm sure some people now will go on YouTube to look at what Techball is about. Which, if they haven't seen much of information locally, they look at the world. There is a World Cup for Techball, by the way. For people who didn't know about that, yes. So we were expecting 60 tables. So if I do well my calculation, that's a budget of 300,000. So that is being paid by Techball.
In fact Fabrice kunema requirements labekadzingeka ukuthi Techball Eswatini ushilo wathi kule space ngicabanga nalapho icredits ngabanika cause kule space le bekhona ngake Techball bekumele imithe letinye taletimvo letifuna ngifitech lokungififa waka Techball imithile ke iTechball Eswatini hence ngako itaw receiver lawo matafula lawo from fitech lengicabanga ukuthi if betingasiko letinvo lesiyisive Fabrice bokhuluma ngaka association kulama viki laphelile ukuthi relief fund kudzinga ukuthi bamithe ama requirement lathi sike sive ukuthi FIFA ukhuluma nabo football association ukuthi kudzinga bamithe kudzinga ukuthi kube ne league yabo make kube nama juniors kube ne Premier League bese ke siyakhokha iFIFA leyo mali leyo nangala ka Techball ke tonke letimvo bekafuna fitech utitholile
sisaphuma ku Techball masa maybe unawukutsinze indzaba ema finances. I think I'm maybe wanting to find out that now as an executive member you have that you are privy to that information to say you are an executive member, so you have the information to say you are now an affiliate of Sport Council. You also report to Sport Council, which means you have also got a share coming from or you haven't been counted yet because there is the second quarter of the year. There is the money that need to be released, and I think Sport Council and the Minister of Sports, they release the money according to the needs. So if then you guys are expecting tables of 60,000, I don't think you guys have got needs an association.
Money Fabrice money because sports has dlalwa ngalama tables kuphela. Dina intimvo lithe association but nje ngicabanga ukuthi njoba ngishilo nawe ushilo wathi kulesikhashanyana dineng letimvo laseba sikhombise tona baka Techball including now tinvo lesikhuluma ngato le COVID because kunikwa imvume into ekucala kusho ukuthi nibhale kwaba clear ukuthi ndakwenta kanjani kulandzelela imigomo lebohulumende lokho nje kukodwa kudlala inzima lenkulu kakhulu. Number 2 ukuthi naseninikelwe le green light bese seniyalandzela le tinvo libekiwe ngicabanga ukuthi leto tinvo leto nato tiyakhombisa ukuthi ba ready in fact bakuseme professional level, in fact professional angibeke kanjalo.
They have it, of course. If you heard it right, it's here first time. It's going to be 60 tables worth 300,000 emalangeni. If you happen to see it as a headline yesterday, tomorrow on the paper, so just know that first it was aired live on Eswatini TV. Now moving on, there was the monthly MAG, the golf tournament held at Babane Golf over the weekend. Master, I think golf as an association, they are still as sports since they resumed their activities, they are very active now in terms of their tournaments, especially the Mbabane based team. And I think Kenneth has been speaking broadly about being active, being sure that we start a tournament. I think they're recapping on what they lost. From what I'm hearing, over the weekend they were playing May tournament, but they were playing it in August. So it was under May but it was played in August, just to make them understand.
Mhlambe asicacise na kuFabrice last week sakhuluma ngeMTN monthly tournament lebakhona ya April le bekumele ukuthi idlalwe ngaApril yadlalwa ke nyalo bese kule SRIC monthly mark yaseMbabane ledlalwa nakhona every month beyidlalwa ke ngeweekend ya May lokushothi nje bebacedzela le calendar yakhona nakhona lecinga ukuthi ize ifike ikhanze inyalo ya August ngicaba badlalile ke Fabrice uSoshile wasi igolf kusukela yamenyetelwa kuthiwa yakenikwa igreen light kuthiwa abachubeke nemidlalo nabo siyabona cishe bayakhombisa ukuthi bayilandzela lemigomo and ama tournaments abo vele bayacikilela kakhulu ukuthi lemigomo yakhulumende bayilandzela i-temperature nakhona iyacheckwa njengoba sabona nje last week ku tournament eqala iyacheckwa i-temperature bayasanitize ama mask afakwa.
Master, I think maybe shying away from COVID a bit, maybe looking at the tournament itself and the sport itself. Of course, we're looking at the pictures where regulations are being followed, but I'm concerned because in a positive way, but I'm like, something is being done. If then the beginning of these tournaments, the entire sponsor, your SRIC, all this tournament, Influencer Master, it's all about networking because these are companies. You find your SPTC, your EPTC, your MTN. These are companies, clubs, and everything. But now it has moved from networking to a competitive level, because now when you see the focus of these golfers, it's another level. The networking is no more there. It's about now I think that's now where the sport takes its stage to say people now are excited about the sport. It's no more about networking, of which there's growth.
In every sport, in fact, if there is no competition, then access to sport.
True.
So every sport noma kungathiwa kuyakene tracker but kwababedi competition access to sport leso iwendile ke igolf yes baqala vele na ubuka in fact na ubuka bonke labadlali labadlala eGalova ubuka nje ukuthi iwinner Mr Steven Mavuso usebenza kuphi usebenza enkampanini magesi last week sabona lo wena le tournament ya MTN kuthi ngi-CEO welidolobha laseMbabane. So bonke labamvu bahlangane bakhulume ibhizinisi akusiko lokudlala kuphela Fabrice ngicabanga sengilokushela naligwayi hence uve bamvu bathi iGalova sport sebadla banemali bona bathola indlela
sayini master ngoba na
ngeke sekubalekele Fabrice ukuthi itinvo lekudlalwa ngato tiyadula but vele
mina nje for instance asengibekisi igolf awuyidlale wena kanzi nemali kusho kuthini lokho
Fabrice njoba ngisho ukuthi lapha kuyahlanganwe udiscuss so nangabe unemngani nje wena uyayothi no asambe siyo discussa kahle sidibane khona lapha ku golf course last afike sidiscuss khona sitawudlala le uGalova bese sise discuss le ngicaba ukuthi at the moment iMbabane club yena umsebenzi lomhle kakhulu Fabrice because week in and week out kunama tournaments labantu wako and bawabamba successfully.
And of course, talking about the champion on the day, it was a beautiful shiny weekend where you can look at how the golfers on the day, of course, they were quite impressed with how things were going. And of course, talking about the champion, before we get into any further details, this is Steve Mavuso, of course, giving us his take after being claimed champions of the monthly mark for the month of May tournament over the weekend.
Ngijabule kakhulu. Bengisolo ngifisile kuyiwina angaze ngayiwina namhla ujabule kakhulu. Yeah, kona kube likhunyana ngoba iwinter golf vele ayisiyo okhona ku control igame yakho kahle. But then ngaloko ukuthi nawusotmisele vele yeah ngila sengikhona khona la ngifike ngayiwina khona.
Sibona score sakho lamva kwakho first 9 35 second 9 wadlala 40 yini lokuhle lokucorrectile ku second 9 kuze ngiphe score sakho sibe 40.
Yeah, mainly ngicorrecte short game yami chipping yami was a little bit off kule first 9 kodwa ke ngabe sesengilungisa yona cha kwakuhamba kahle kakhulu chipping and putting ngiyo le ngisebenzele kakhulu.
Kokugcina kulama precautions of COVID la khona in terms of golf playing siyathi kuthiwa nimele ni sanitize ama clubs eno kube ne-sanitizer esikhomeni phinde futhi mawudlala ungayifaki i-mask but uhle uyifaka mawuhamba mentally kuyani-affecta indlela mandlala le-sport.
Akusa-affect kangako ngoba phela vele nyalo sesiyadluka ukuthi kufanele sekuyimpilo yethu, so ufuna wadluka ukuthi when la utayifaka khona ikusebentele and kude vele longakwenda ngoba sengiyo impilo lesesiphila nyalo.
And of course, congratulations to Mr. Mavuso for being the champion over the weekend. And of course, one would highlight that in the golf business tournaments, he's not a new face master. Now, in terms of his credits and what he's been able to do in the past. Not to say specifically for this tournament, I think it's the first of its kind. But now, Bugaramanyama tournament, I think he has a name that he's made, a bit by bit.
First time champion RIC monthly mark Mr. Stephen Mavuso lengicabanga ukuthi udlale kahle kakhulu. And amase ukuthi nawubuka i-golf handicap yakhe beku-15 sibonile la ngemva labeke mekhona bekubhaliwe lapha eboarding handicap yakhe beku-15 but inet yakhe kungu-17 kwase i-gross kuba ngu-85 but igcinene ama-point akhe athi 70. Ngicabanga ukuthi Fabrice nangabe utaba uwina yokuqala ku-monthly mark. In fact bayirate kakhulu le-monthly mark Galuva, including yena Stephen Mavuso nabo captain bakhona eMbabane Golf Club nabaya nabo Mr. Albert Mhlanga wakhumbula last week umbuta ngemdlali wakamhlanga the young boy. Ngicabanga ukuthi it's a very good tournament ngishilo ngathi bayirate kakhulu.
Master nangibuka le nansanene le list top 10. Okay, we'll get into the names, but I'm happy that now we have women winners, which means golf now is doing what we were talking about earlier on, involve women in the sport. Pumi's one, of course, with 34 points, but some of the names, of course, the likes of Evert Madlopa, of course, it's a familiar name in terms of the sport. Kurmangabo, Nicholas Strong, all these people, they have made the name in the sport. They went there to network as companies, but now it's the competition. Now they love the sport. They're doing it for the sport. Something we should commend, Master.
Gakulu Fabrice. In fact, now uvala bamvu begalova uva na atmosphere as soon as ufika lapha eMbabane club nabadlala lokuhleka lokusherishana kuma jokes. Ngicabanga ukuthi dinvo letinhle ubala bonke labadlali abakhona lapha cishe ngibo labamvu lesibajwayele labajwayelekile ku society.
I think something I wanted just to touch on quickly before. Not him, I'm not saying him, but other people that help golfers with equipment, caddies. I wanted to touch on them. I think we'll see them, some of the pictures, we get to see them. But, I was watching the news the other week. They were highlighting how maybe the situation is a bit better now that the games are back. But now some of the golfers are a bit skeptic in using them because of COVID, and these guys, their life, it relies on assisting golfers,
Fabrice kumbula ukuthi kakhulu Fabrice iyathi COVID nayima imisa onke ema sports ima golfers aya decide basembabane base baya decide kuthola leto dinshwana labangadipa labo khedi bathola ke but ngeke kuze kufane Fabrice indlela lokuthi week in and week out uyakhona kusebenta nekuthi umile nyalo ke sebabuyile sebayasebenta cishe tindoda ubuyela tibe normal Fabrice lengicabanga ukuthi nalaba basolo besaba lokubasebenzisa kancane ngicabanga ukuthi batawubuyela babasebenzise but nje sabona ukuthi babasukumela emagolfers abanika leto dinshwana letincane.
They have it, of course. That is the monthly mark that was played over the weekend. What a nice shot, of course, we just watched there on air. Now, moving abroad, Master Linda Dlamini is a happy man, of course, after the weekend victory by Arsenal. But maybe just before we go to Europe, touching on the announcement made by the PSL chairman, Mr. Koza, to say that the league will be, football activities will be returning this coming weekend, of course, to begin with the Nedbank Cup. Now, Master, the impact I want to bring on this aspect to say, since Kubuye Imidlalo say South Africa, does that bring a bit of hope within that, so we can start maybe thinking that we might have games? Because these are countries where the numbers are also increasing, but they're able to carry on. Should we think like that? In your opinion,
Fabrice, now ungathi ulandzela kahle statements sa chairman wase South Africa ukhulumenga over 100 million lodzingekako ukuthi ileague iresume. but it's a different story. Angeke sikhone 100 over 100 angeke sikhone ngisho 10 million.
So in as much as sithandza ukubukela Pirates, Chiefs, Sundowns, Baroka singacabanga ukuthi singakhona kwenda le mvula.
No singacabanga sikhashane kakhulu Fabrice. In fact base Zambia babuyele bayadlala bona ileague yakhona iyachubeka iyadlala but nje thina la kithi sikhashane kakhulu. Singadiyenge singacabanga nje nokuthi singake sithi compare ne South Africa le league yakhona inemali kunale yethu.
There you have it. Dlamini giving you the inside information of what you need to know about international football. Now, moving in England, FA Cup champions for the 14th time, Arsenal Football Club, and of course, Dlamini having declared before, to this day here in the studio that he is a true, Ghana Arsenal supporters. He has something to say about that victory and how much it means for the club and for their London Rovers, Tottenham. Master would see it's a good news. Would see now, in as much as you finish behind Tottenham, but it means something.
Fabrice ukhumbula ukuthi licembu leArsenal bedlala iFA Cup nelicembu leChelsea. Arsenal ke ku league yacetha number 8 lokusho ukuthi benga qualify kodlala
Europa League.
Yes, ku Europa League emaqembu labeka qualifier from number 5 then number 6 7 in fact number 7 bekuyi Wolves, number 6 kulicembu leTottenham lokusho ukuthi ngibo bebaya ku Europa, but ke
through qualifiers
through ema qualifiers, but
ukuthi maybe kuchaza kangcono master if labanengi bakhumbula ukuthi when you are number 4 Champions League there is a stage you start going through before you go kuma group stages.
Yes, nangabe ucethe number 4 lokusho ukuthi utaqala kuma qualifiers lokusho ukuthi i-champions season yakhe iqala earlier than labanye lo 3 vele bona bavele bahambe bayosidwa, but ke ngala ku Europa if England winner FA Cup just like ngala Eswatini now winner Eswatini Cup uyahamba uyodlala CAF Confederations Cup, now winner Europa FA Cup England uyahamba uyodlala Europa, then lo cethe ang number 6 akasayi ku Europa. In this case ke ema rivals base London iTottenham icethe number 6 Arsenal icethe number 8 lokusho ukuthi Tottenham ayisayi ku Europa, but ke iArsenal idlalile ke yadlala neChelsea winner FA Cup, so shilo wathi irecord leyo 14 ilandzelako iManchester United nga 12, shothi ngicabanga ukuthi nje the most successful team ku FA Cup England.
Kulethi inkulumo master ukuthi mhlawumbe they are back as a team. Nawubobuka master the way they played over the weekend, is it convincing? I mean, Arteta doesn't have even a season with the club. He's been able to give them a trophy. Maybe now you're going to speak as an analyst, not a die-hard fan of Arsenal, to say, now we book at the team master, can we expect something from this club next season?
No Fabrice, kitabe ku kakamela na ungathi ukatsa ukuthi Arsenal compete next season. Ngicaba ukuthi itaba kahle la ku number 6 5 maybe 4 nangabe kwendeka miracle, but nje ngicaba ukuthi there is a lot lekutsinga ukuthi bakwende bakutsinga ukuthi nyalo Pierre their captain Pierre Emerick Aubameyang assign a deal because unyaka uta expire next year. Bathole nebadlali basayine nebadlali sivile ma rumors ukuthi Willian ludlalela yeni Chelsea contract yakhe ya expire ngendeka Arsenal Coutinho labeka kulona ku Bayern Munich ayo eBarcelona ngendeka there is a lot lekutsinga ukuthi bakwende kuze ba compete, otherwise kutawuchubeka nje kube same old story.
And of course not only to talk about Arsenal and their supporters, Manchester United of course also having qualified of course for the UEFA Champions League. They want to know what's happening with their club. Master, before we came in here you were talking about potential signing Sancho all the way from BVW all the way from Germany.
Fabrice angathi bayibathi umvu akatishayela igitara phenza kuhlabelela. Ngiyakhumbula kulomnyaka sisenda imedia buzz ngakhuluma Paul Pogba nakasuka kuJuventus, and I was the first one kusho ukuthi it's almost a done deal. Record fee Sancho almost a done deal to Manchester United.
Yeah, as we speak.
Master,
now when he gets to Manchester United, where do you see him playing? And which number do you think he wear? Just number.
Just number ngibesho ngayo but nje ngicabanga ukuthi nawubuka indlela le Manchester United le benda ngayo tindonyalo bafuna kubuyisa that English core usiyakhumbula ukuthi ke waba no Beckham, Bo Neville, Bo Scholes. So nyalo ba kukhona Greenwood then nakuta Sancho ngicabanga ukuthi kutawu bese sekutana na Rashford la celeni ngicabanga ukuthi le front line nje
sokusho Martial nje yeah utawuphila kulo Carling Cup nabo FA Cup
kutanga ngayo ukuthi ufuna ini if naye a perform ama big games ngicabanga ukuthi utabantu aba forced ukuthi vele one of lama English players bambeke benchini but nje nawubuka ukuthi I right back Wan-Bissaka is English, I center back Maguire English then ke bese sekubana labadlali abaqhamuka ngaphandle ukhuluma ngaPogba wase France ukhuluma ngaFernandes wase Portugal ngicabanga ukuthi
it sounds like they can compete for the league most.
Nakhona ngicabanga ukuthi nabantu amthola Sancho kudzinga ukuthi babe sebathola na goalkeeper lo tawucompete naye Dahia cause kumaviki lendlulile iperformance yakhe ihle kakhulu then bathole ne center back letawudlala naye Maguire otherwise batawucompete next season. In fact next season tawubonakala ileague le ngicabanga ukuthi itaba inhle kakhulu cause ni Chelsea isayinile Chelsea asayina umdlalo wase Germany uVerner ngicabanga ukuthi nabo slowly bafuna lokubuya bacompete Lampard is a new coach usazama naye iManchester City baba quite kancane but ngicabanga ukuthi nabo next season batawufuna kubuya uyahamba yena David Silva their longest serving player after 10 years.
But I think they tried to convince him to sign a new contract, maybe just to extend a bit. What?
Ngicabanga ukuthi akafuni ukudemoshela le record yakhe because every season la idlalile kusukela efika nawubuka ukuthi unama league lang 4 uwina something cishe onke lawo ma season lawo the most decorated player ku Manchester City history ever lokufaka ikhathi naye Sergio Aguero bese kuyeta ke nabo ya Torre nabo company ngicabanga nje ukuthi udlalile inzima yakhe ku Manchester City bese kusikhathi ukuthi ahambe.
Of course, the champions, Liverpool, the Cup, they also want to know what's happening. Every time when a team wins a trophy, you want to know if they are going to sign anyone. Anything from Liverpool?
Liverpool Fabrice nakhona babhizi bafuna kusayina sivile ukuthi bafuna Thiago lo dlala khona Bayern Munich former Barcelona player in fact bekafuna iPSG yase ifuna kuyihijack le deal iyona iLiverpool but aside because Thiago ngumdlali lothandwa nguPep Guardiola kakhulu mina nje ngimgase ukuthi next season abe aku Manchester City if Guardiola usetaba nabo bo 2 years 3 years Manchester City.
Now we might once have a war of Ballon d'Or winners, Cristiano Ronaldo and Inter Milan. Lionel Messi now looking to join, if possible, it happens in Inter Milan. How true is that, and could that happen? In your opinion, would that be a good deal for Messi and for Inter Milan if he's to join Inter Milan? Lionel Messi.
Fabrice ngicabanga ukuthi yes Inter Milan iyamfuna sivile team ema reports ukuthi iyamfuna but angiboni Messi at Inter Milan. In fact the Italian league angiboni ayakhona ngicabanga if angahamba ku Barcelona angaya khona ku Pep ku Manchester City because le league icishe ingedulu kunale yase Italy but nje it's high time. It's high time actually team lench.
Closing up, Champions League of course resumed this week and of course who do you see walking away with the trophy?
It's good tough because nawubuka ukuthi Manchester City yahamba ya ku Madrid yafika yawina 2-1 so nyalo bayodlala return leg ku-tough kakhulu siyathi ke Madrid Champions League ukuthi vele ingomishi laba ithandzako leyo Zidane having won it 3 times in a row but Pep Guardiola solo ahamba ku Barcelona akaza ayiwina but Juventus yodlala nayo iLyon nakhona ku-tough. Bayern Munich be careful ngayo mina nje ngibona this year iwina iBayern Munich yakhumbula ukuthi first leg bayiwina 3-0 against Chelsea kutadlala i-return leg nyalo ngiyibona phinze ishaya umnye 3 goals ngicabanga nje ukuthi ngiyo i-team le strong ku Champions League this season mark my words.
And of course, the old lady, Juventus, being at this point in time one of the club expected to deliver. The likes of Buffon, they want to retire with just that save. Having won the World Cup, having won every trophy with Juventus, it just won that Champions League. And I think it will make more sense. Now, moving away from football quickly, Formula One. Lewis Hamilton, I think yesterday, he did something unpredictable, Master, winning the Grand Prix, in a shocking, dramatic way. It was, everyone was thinking maybe in a short space of time it could be in flames, but he ended up being the champions.
Sawukhumbula Fabrice ngicabanga ukuthi labalandzela iFormula 1 batawukhumbula ukuthi yena Lewis Hamilton kuma practice matches in fact for amahlandla lang2 agcitha ang number 2, but kule main event, kule main competition ugcitha ang number 1 labanenge bebacabanga ukuthi mhlambe le moto khona tika lengatikila, but une experience simbonile awawina amahlandla. In fact nyalo ucosha irecord le kumele ukuthi abe the most successful Formula 1 driver. Ngicabanga ukuthi so idlalile na inzima yakhe, so that driver lo watiwa emhlabeni lo sawawinile ema tournament lamanengi kakhulu. Sithi nje congratulations kuye Lewis Hamilton.
There you have it. And of course that's all we had for you this evening. Of course coming to locally up to what was happening internationally. Thank you very much, Dlamini, for being here, and I think we do more digging on what's happening locally and internationally. Then next week you feed us, of course, that worthful information again.
Kubonga mina Fabrice, sibonga kakhulu nemali ya viewers ekhaya.
You have it. Leader Dlamini, our news analyst, has a vast experience and information when it comes to sporting courts. Otherwise, for those who joined us from the moment we touched on what was happening over the weekend with the tennis association, with the new sponsorship, to when Techball became one of the first association to receive a training on COVID-19, to the moment where we ended up touching on the monthly mark and international page. Otherwise, for those who are watching on YouTube, it's a much appreciated moment. For those who miss this occasion, of course, there's always a repeat the next day from 8 in the morning. Otherwise, from the entire crew that brought you this program, Master Linda Dlamini and I, Fabrice Msonela, sikwanile ukuthi sidlale kamnanzi.
Ngijabule kakhulu, bengisoloko ngifisile kuyiwina, angaze ngayiwina namhla, ngijabule kakhulu.